Supreme Court shows support for President Trump's immigration travel ban. Washington, a divided Supreme Court gave President Trump's immigration travel ban a better reception Wednesday than it's received in lower courts over the past 15 months, raising the chances that it will uphold restrictions on travelers from 5 predominantly Muslim countries. The court's conservative justices appeared sympathetic to the administration's contention that it has the authority to regulate immigration in the name of national security. They also voiced skepticism about the relevance of Trump's campaign promises and statements regarding Muslims. If you look at what was done, it does not look like a Muslim ban, Justice Samuel Alito said, noting it applies to about 8% of the world's Muslims. The court's outnumbered liberals expressed doubts about the president's power to ban travelers indefinitely despite existing congressional law and said even his tweets on the subject can be used to decipher his motives. Where does the president get the authority to do more than Congress has already decided is adequate? Justice Sonia Sotomayor said. While the justices often don't indicate during oral argument which way they will vote, only Justice Anthony Kennedy among the court's 5 conservatives sounded conflicted. Chief Justice John Roberts, Alito and Justice Neil Gorsuch saved most of their questions for the challengers. The 4 liberal justices peppered the government's side with questions, but Justice Stephen Breyer voiced concern mostly about the ability of travelers from 5 majority Muslim countries to get waivers. Only 430 have been issued to date. The ban affects nearly 150 million people. The lively, hour-long oral argument represented the penultimate action in a debate dating back to the first weeks of Trump's presidency, and even to his volatile campaign for the White House. A decision is expected at the end of June. The legal battle began immediately after Trump issued his first travel ban a week after his January 2017 inauguration. That 90-day ban on travelers from Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen, and a 120-day ban on refugees was struck down by federal district and appeals courts the following month. Trump's second version, issued in March, dropped Iraq from the list of affected nations and exempted visa and green card holders. But it fared no better, getting struck down that spring before the Supreme Court in late June ruled that travelers without close ties to the U.S. could be barred while vetting procedures were reviewed. After Trump issued his third version in September, subtracting Sudan, adding Chad, North Korea, and Venezuela, setting separate criteria for each country and making it indefinite rather than temporary, federal courts again struck it down. But in December, the justices allowed it to go into effect, and in January they scheduled it for oral argument. Hanging in the balance now are nearly 150 million could-be travelers from Iran, Libya, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen, as well as others who may be threatened by the High Court's decision. Chad, also majority Muslim, was removed from the list earlier this month. North Korea and Venezuela are not part of the legal battle. U.S. Solicitor General Noel Francisco urged the justices to take note of the third travel ban's specificity, including different criteria for each country and 6-month reporting requirements. That elicited what appeared to be praise from Justice Anthony Kennedy, who could be the decisive vote. But Kennedy also joined the court's more liberal justices in wondering how the president's campaign statements might infect his policies. If a mayoral candidate pledged to do something terrible and did it upon winning election, he said, wouldn't that be relevant? Francisco shot back. The travel ban, he said, is not a so-called Muslim ban. If it were, it would be the most ineffective Muslim ban that you can possibly imagine. But Neil Katyal, the former acting Solicitor General under President Obama who represented Hawaii and immigration rights groups, said the president's actions effectively replaced part of a congressional law with a ban that lawmakers previously rejected. Congress is in the driver's seat when it comes to immigration, Cadill said, but the travel ban takes an iron wrecking ball to the statute. The California and Virginia-based federal appeals courts that ruled against Trump said courts can examine the purpose behind government actions and that Trump's words reveal he seeks to ban Muslims. Indeed, most of the judges who issued rulings have said his statements as a candidate, president-elect and president are relevant. Judges and legal analysts who defend the travel ban argue that Trump's words cannot form the basis for a constitutional violation. It takes too much interpretation, they say, to read anti-Muslim bias into an executive order or proclamation that, on its surface, is devoid of religious content. Several judges have gone further, arguing that campaign promises should be off-limits, or at least dwarfed by government actions that are not overtly discriminatory. The High Court showdown was of such interest that Chief Justice John Roberts agreed to release the audio recording of the morning's oral argument later in the day, rather than at the end of the week. The last time the court did that was for the oral arguments on same-sex marriage in 2015.